Some therapists and psychologists do things that really boil my blood. And in this video, I want to talk about one that I was just discussing with a client today. Sometimes you have to understand the advice that these people give you is actually going to push you further away from what you're trying to accomplish, and it genuinely drives me mad. At the end of the day, the entirety of emotional healing and mental health really comes down to one simple thing: self-love. If you can ever fully understand everything that unconditional self-love really entails, and if you can accomplish that within yourself, you will have conquered your triggers and traumas, and you'll be able to express yourself calmly and confidently. You'll choose healthy relationships and make decisions that are in alignment with who you are and what you really want in this life. Really, everything else that you're working on is factored into this core concept of unconditional self-love. Fair enough so far? Self-love? Yeah? Okay. Well, something that a lot of therapists, psychologists, or coaches will tell you to do when you're dealing with negative thoughts is to push them away. Of course, we don't want to engage with negative thoughts. We don't want to believe them and invest ourselves in them, but some therapists will actively tell you to tell your negative thoughts to F off, or tell them, I don't have time for you, go away, or you're not welcome here. A client was literally telling me that that's the advice she got from her therapist not long ago. And she's not the first person to tell me that. I've even seen therapists and coaches online giving that specific advice. The thing is, who exactly do you think you're talking to when you're telling your own thoughts that you're not welcome here? You're talking to yourself. Those thoughts are a part of you. They are a manifestation of wounded parts of yourself trying to express themselves to you. So what do you think is going to happen when you get into the habit of telling parts of yourself to F off? How are you ever going to achieve genuine self-love if you keep on creating rifts and separation inside of yourself by telling certain parts of your being that they're not acceptable? A huge part of what people call shadow work is what we call integration. This is also touched on a little bit in internal family systems, or what we call parts work, but I think that takes a slightly different approach to it. In parts work, they're focused more on just giving those parts of yourself a voice. I don't think it's quite so focused on reintegrating the parts and bringing them back together into a unified oneness. But shadow work is very much about recognizing that over your lifetime, your true core personality has been fragmented into these various pieces. Some parts of you were accepted and were treated as acceptable, and some parts of you were rejected and made to feel unacceptable. That internal rift is what we're trying to repair. And true self-love is about bringing all of those lost, wounded, and rejected parts of yourself back together. There shouldn't be any part of you that is unacceptable, even the parts that you might consider to be ugly or unpleasant. So you have to recognize that the negative thoughts that you're dealing with are manifestations of those lost and wounded parts of yourself. They're your mind's way of translating unresolved pain into words, thoughts, and beliefs. Now, deep down, you don't actually believe those thoughts and beliefs. Some part of you already knows that. That's why you're here doing this work in the first place, because you know that not everything you currently think about yourself is genuinely accurate. If you fully believed that all of those thoughts were in fact accurate, then you wouldn't think there was anything to actually heal here, and you wouldn't be listening to me right now. So, these lost and wounded parts of yourself are trying to get your attention via these negative, worried, judgmental thoughts. I like to say that every moment of emotional distress that you experience is trying to point you in the direction of where you need healing. These thoughts are trying to lead you somewhere. They're trying to show you where your unresolved wounds are. They're like a needy child tugging on their mother's pants saying, please look at me, please look at me, please look at me, please listen to me, please look at me. And if you keep on turning to that child and saying, no, not now, leave me alone, how do you think that child is going to feel? Is that child ever going to feel loved and heard and seen? Enough to feel genuinely safe and be calm and well-behaved? Or is a child that keeps on getting reprimanded for seeking some love and attention going to keep acting out and misbehaving because they're afraid and lost and hurt? Obviously, a rejected child will act up more. So, your subconscious is trying to point you in the direction of where you need healing, and you keep on rejecting it. Like I said, we don't want to believe the thoughts. We don't want to invest ourselves in what they're telling us, and we don't want to act on those thoughts, but we want to acknowledge the thoughts and let those inner parts of ourselves know that they are seen and heard and accepted. We want to stop rejecting them and learn how to turn our attention to the pain that's underneath the thoughts. Like I said, all of our emotional distress is trying to point us in the direction of where we need healing. So we want to look at what's underneath the thoughts. Because otherwise, all that we're doing is ignoring our unresolved emotions and traumas. We're distracting ourselves and running away from the pain. But you can't run from something that's inside of you desperately trying to get your attention. That just leads to an endless cycle of you trying to stuff away your pain, ultimately only to have that pain triggered again in times where you'll end up taking it out on the people you love, leading to more emotions and problems that you need to deal with, but that you're never going to deal with because you're never learning and practicing how to deal with it. This is how your pain grows and grows and grows over the years, because you're just trying to push it away when it presents itself to you instead of dealing with it directly. And really, it disturbs me that there are licensed therapists out there telling you to do this. Of course, it serves them well to tell you that, because if you don't deal with it directly in the moments when you're getting triggered, you'll keep going back to the therapist week after week, trying to dig up the pain that you didn't deal with in the moment that you should have dealt with it. The moments of being triggered are your opportunity to heal. That's when you should be confronting the pain, when it comes up to the surface naturally. You shouldn't keep stuffing it away in the moment when it comes up and then trying to track it back down and dig it back up when you're in the safety of your therapist's office and when you're not really feeling it. Now, to be clear, I don't think that the vast majority of therapists are doing this to you intentionally. They're trying to help. They really are. They just don't realize that they're perpetuating this cycle by telling you that healing is something that happens in the safe confines of their office only, as opposed to something that happens out there in the world. In the real world, when you're confronted with real challenges, when the emotions come up, that's when the healing needs to happen. But anyways, I digress. Okay, so if we're not going to push the thoughts away and reject them, what do we do instead? Firstly, I want you to recognize that these thoughts aren't your enemies. They don't mean you any harm. They're actually trying to keep you safe in various ways. Firstly, they're trying to keep you safe by keeping you on the lookout for danger. Even a thought like, I hate myself and I'm ugly, is trying to protect you because it thinks that operating with that belief will prevent you from acting in ways that draws attention to yourself, in ways that will lead to more rejection and more pain. So it thinks that if you think that you're ugly and hate yourself, then you'll protect yourself in real life. Obviously, this logic doesn't work out very well, but I'm just saying that even at the logistical level, the thought is kind of trying to help you. But then, at a more intangible level, the thought is protecting you by covering up unresolved pain that you're trying to avoid. By thinking these thoughts, it keeps you up in your head, rather than feeling the visceral discomfort of the trauma that's underneath those false thoughts and beliefs and that are trying to move through you. Now, to express that, I used to say that your brain is an asshole, because it's causing you all of these problems with these negative thoughts and it's being a jerk. But I moved away from that phrase because really, your mind isn't doing this to be mean. It's doing it because it loves you. It's trying to protect you. It's just doing a bad job of it. It's like a pet dog that barks at everybody who comes to your door. It just wants to make sure you're safe. But by barking at everyone, it's getting in the way of your life. That's what these thoughts are. They're a scared guard dog trying to protect you, but they're getting in the way. So, when you catch yourself with these kinds of negative thoughts, there are 5 steps you'll want to practice. First, notice the thoughts. recognized that you're tuned to the fear radio station, that you're just in that emotion of fear, and your mind is trying to make sense of that emotion by attaching these thoughts to it. Don't overthink it. Don't analyze it. Just recognize it. Just recognize that that's the emotional state that you're in, and that that emotional state is creating these thoughts. Secondly, once you catch those thoughts, be genuinely proud of yourself for a moment for recognizing it and catching them. Seriously, it takes a lot of skill and self-awareness and courage to recognize this in a moment of being triggered. So it really is quite an accomplishment. And it's very important that we take a moment to create a positive emotional response here. We want to give ourselves positive feedback for this accomplishment so that we train our brains to want to do this more and more often. We want to catch ourselves doing this more and more often with less and less judgment so that we can avoid slipping down the rabbit hole of negative thoughts by not paying attention to them. Thirdly, you're going to want to thank the thoughts for expressing themselves. Remember, they're a part of you. You want to create a healthy and loving relationship with all of these lost parts of yourself. Fourth, you're going to tell the thoughts that you are safe. Remember, they were trying to protect you. They just want you to be safe. So if they know that you are safe, then they can go away and leave you alone. You want to soothe them by telling them that they've done their job. You don't want to push them away with judgment and rejection. Tell them that you're safe, and then they will feel like they've accomplished their task and they can go and relax. Then, finally, you can replace the negative thoughts with a positive alternative to those thoughts so that you start paving the opposite pathway in your brain. You want to make sure that these negative thoughts stop being the default go-to thoughts that your brain naturally goes to. So we want to start practicing giving your mind an alternate route to go down when it gets triggered, or just as a general rule. Now, that's just a super quick explanation of the 5 steps, but that's exactly how I teach my clients to handle their negative thoughts. With those 5 steps, you can put the negative, worried, judgmental thoughts aside for long enough to turn your attention to the unresolved emotion that's underneath them. And when you process that emotion properly, you'll stop getting triggered in the ways that you used to. And once you're no longer getting triggered in the same ways, and once we've paved enough new pathways of acceptance, patience, and self-love, you will be reconnected with so many lost parts of yourself. You'll feel more confident, more compassionate, more loving to yourself and to others. And ultimately, that's the goal, right? Just remember, nothing that I say in these videos is meant as an easy answer. These things require practice and patience. But think about it. In a moment when you're having a negative thought and when you're caught in that self-judgmental or worried spiral, will that moment be better if you do what I just told you to do, rather than ignoring what's happening and allowing yourself to go down the rabbit hole of negative thoughts, or rather than telling some part of yourself to screw off? Of course it will. These 5 steps are a far healthier alternative that will make you suffer less in the moment and build the emotional skills and muscles to keep growing and healing. So that's the beauty of the emotional fitness skills that I teach. We perform these skills in as many moments as possible because they simply make the moment better. And if you stay consistent with it, the progress here will grow and grow and grow. You will get better. You will build muscles. You will learn how to respond to all of your triggers and defense mechanisms in healthy ways. And you will notice real progress and big shifts that you can't even currently imagine. We build the muscles, we get stronger, we get better and better at using these things. And by doing that, you can become the true, authentic version of yourself that you left behind a long time ago. You can bring yourself back to life and become a shining beacon of self-love and inner peace for the people you care most about and for the world in general. So, if you want to learn how to fully accomplish that, head to my website, www.benjysherercoaching.com, and schedule a call with me. I guarantee you that if you fully apply yourself to my methods, you will see more progress in the next 12 weeks than you have in years worth of therapy. And if you'd like to learn more about how self-talk really works and how you should be speaking to yourself in your own mind, click this video over here, where I'll talk about why the trend of affirmations and positive self-talk isn't quite living up to what it's trying to accomplish either. Thinking positively is nice, but it's not a solution to anything in itself. Click the video and I'll explain more.